Hello, I'm Elizabeth from the Columbus Public Library. Welcome to Level Up Your Life Skills Hand Sewing 101. Today we will be learning to sew a shirt button on. You will need the fabric or clothing that you want to sew the button onto, a small shirt button, whichever thread that you're going to use. I'm using red so that it'll show up really well while I'm teaching you. You will need a needle, and you will need scissors. If you don't have very good eyesight, you might want to also use a needle threader. And I will show you how to thread the needle, how to fasten the end, and how to sew on the button. Let's begin. Okay. To begin, we need to cut a length of thread that is enough to sew on the button. Then we need to thread the needle. Now, I like to lick the end of the thread to stiffen the thread enough that it is easier to put through the eye of the needle. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but we can get it. See? Now, if that's too hard and you have one available, you can use a needle threader. This is easier because this bit of wire is stiffer and pointed. It's less flexible than the thread, so we can get it through more easily, like so. Then we can simply put through the wire the thread and pull that through the needle. That was easy. Now that the needle is threaded, we need to find the ends of the thread and bring them together so that we can make our knot. To do this, we need to wrap the thread around our finger to make an X. Then we take our thumb, roll the thread off your finger. See? Then grab with your thumb that's already holding it and your middle finger and pull. That makes the knot. The knot should be at least a little bit messy, because if you have too perfect a knot, it will not keep from being pulled through the fabric. Some fabric has a very tight weave, this one does, but some fabrics have loose weave. And a tiny knot will go through a loose weave fabric. All right, here's my button. You see I have one already sewn on. So I'm going to show you just how to sew this one on. All right, we're going to want to go through the back of our fabric or the item of clothing. Pull the needle through where you want it. And see, it's not moving. See, there's my little knot. Sound and secure. Let's get that through the back of the button. Make sure it is the back of the button. The back of the button is flat and the front of this one is curved. Now usually you want to make sure that all of your buttons are sewn on in a similar way. This one is sewn on this way, but sometimes you can do crossways. So since that one is already sewn on up and down like an equal sign, or side to side like an equal sign, I'm going to do this one crossways so that you can see that. Just go across to the opposite hole, hold the button in place and pull your needle through the back. You're going to go back to the same spot where the knot is, so it's a pretty easy indication of where the buttonhole is. See, my needle is coming up through there. And I like to do about 3 stitches for each set of holes. That's 2. Now, if you get really good, it gets a little bit easier for you after much practice to just know where the buttonhole is at the back. It's a hand-eye coordination. So this is really good practice for your hand-eye coordination. All right, so I've done 3 stitches crossways this way, and now I need to find the other hole. So you kind of don't want to guess too much, but your knot is right here. So very close to your knot, it's going to be where the other hole is. So you push it through and you do that crossways across. So we're making an X. See? Making an X. And sometimes it takes a while to find the hole. This is not an unusual problem. So you might want sometimes to flip it over and find where your last stitch was and go through there. It works very well. One more stitch. And be very careful not to push the needle up through your thumb while you are sewing. We don't need any injuries now. All right. That's 3 stitches both ways. That's probably enough stitches. So now I'm going to show you how to finish it off. Go through the stitches that you have there. Pull it through. It makes a loop. Go through this loop. Pull it tight right here. You've made another loop. Go through this loop and pull it tight. Then pull that tight. That makes a good knot. That's not going to come undone. All you need to do now is cut your thread, and it's finished. Button is on good. Now it's your turn. Hello, I'm Elizabeth with the Columbus Public Library, and I can't tell you how much I miss you guys. So let's do something together, all right? Welcome to Level Up Your Life Skills, Hand Sewing 101. Today, we're going to learn how to sew on a pants button. It's the bigger buttons. And yeah, it's not the same as a shirt button. And I'll show you why. All right, you're going to need a pants button, a larger button, sewing needle, the fabric that you're going to sew your button onto, or the clothing item, pants, or maybe even a coat, your thread. You might need your needle threader and a pair of scissors, and then we can get started. All right, let's start by threading the needle. bringing the ends together. And making the knot. All right. Now we need to make a foundation to sew this button onto. So we will first sew an X onto the fabric with the thread. Go in through the back and make it broad enough, because that is a large button. So you want your X to be bigger than the buttonholes. All right. One stitch. I'm flipping it over so that you can see. Go across your first stitch. All right, and what this does is when your button pulls on the fabric, it helps provide a foundation to keep the button from tearing the fabric. So it gives it a little extra hold, because when it comes to heavier fabrics like jeans or coats, you need to have a much sturdier foundation to keep the button on, because there's more pull on those buttons. All right. So you're going to want to pay attention to where the X is and sew not where the X is, but around where the X is, in between the stitches that are already there. All right, now the first stitch for getting this button on is very important, but also how you sew the button on. You want this rounded part of the button to be the back, so it's easier for the fabric of the buttonhole to go around it. The flat part of the button will go up, and you will go through the back of the button, down through the front, and go across the X that you have there. Pull your thread through to the back, but don't pull it all the way through. You're going to want to leave a little bit of slack, because when it comes to jeans and coats that you may sew these buttons onto, the fabric of the other piece where the buttonhole is thicker. So you're going to need to have a little bit of give so that it doesn't pull very hard on the fabric that the button is sewn onto. This will keep the button from breaking off in the future. And if you're replacing a button that's broken off already, this X will also help keep it in place. All right. So you're going to want to make sure all of your stitches are also loose. So go again through the back. Again through the front and into that spot in between the stitches for the X. And it seems ugly and loose right now, but it will look much nicer in the end. Now, just like with the shirt buttons, I'm going to do 3 stitches each way. Now make sure you find where your stitch is. Let's see, right there. Focus, there we go. And make sure you find the hole of the button. All right, so this is my 3rd stitch going this way. Always go back through the same side. See? And don't worry about the back looking pretty or not. That's not what's important. What's important is getting the button on. All right. Pull on it a little, make sure that your stitches are all the same level of loose. Right, and go through the other buttonholes now. All right, 3 stitches this way as well, making sure that you get in between the stitches of the foundation X. On both sides. Get in between those X stitches. Make sure it stays loose. Right. One more stitch, and then we will show you the secret to finishing this off. And then it won't be a secret anymore. All right. The last stitch that we need to do. Okay, so that's the last stitch through the buttonholes. Now we're going to go up through the back, but not go through the buttonholes. It doesn't matter where. We're just going to go up through. And here's my favorite part. Take your thread and wind it around the button tight. Don't need to do it a whole bunch of times. Well, look at that. It pulls it together, makes it tight, kind of makes a stem that sticks up a bit from the fabric so that the button sticks up through the buttonhole and gives the fabric of the other piece room to sit behind the button without pulling too much on the fabric that the button is sewn through. All right, so to finish this, you go through the stem with the needle, straight through it. And how do you like that? You've got a loop right behind. Put your needle through that loop, hold this side, pull that loop tight, so you've got another loop. Go through that one too. And I like to do it one more time when it comes to buttonholes, little buttons. All right, and pull it tight. That's not going anywhere. So now you can cut your tail off. And you've just sewn a button for pants or coats on. Nice and sturdy sewing. That's not coming off anytime soon. All right, head to it.
We are springing into summer learning at the Chattahoochee Valley Libraries, and the program you just attended is one of the ways you can earn completions. Just go to cvlga.org and look for Spring into Summer Learning. You can register yourself and your family online, and then start reading and attending our online events. That's all you have to do. We're giving away weekly gift certificates, and every completion you make enters you into a grand prize drawing for tablets, games, gifts, and more. Remember, you have to register to win. cvlga.org, and we'll see you online again real soon.